Okay, before we get started with the rubbing compound, I just thought I'd tell you, for years I've used this number 7 rubbing compound. The problem is I've ran out of it, and I went to buy some more of it. I couldn't find this particular brand, and the number 7 was the least aggressive, I think, of this brand of rubbing compound. And what I was able to find was some rubbing compound made by Turtle Wax. It does okay, but I don't know. I don't think it's doing as good a job as this one. But this is what I have, so we got to use what we have. So the purpose of the rubbing compound is to clean the metal. Now it will, put some shine to it, but it's not to shine it. It's to clean it. So this is the blade. That's the side we used with the sandpaper. We'll do the reverse side. Put some rubbing compound on here. And again, I'm using this conical one, and it is the most aggressive, I believe. Let's just see what happens. Now on this, I don't go probably over half speed. You don't want to have it running too fast, and the metal can heat up quite quickly, especially these little small blades. So, the tendency is to bear down hard on it and try to get rid of it all right away. If you're better off not pressing down so hard on it, let it run at a lower RPM, take your time, and it'll slowly come off. So again, I'm going to lay it kind of on its side here. And it's kind of just the weight of this laying on it. I'm not pushing down on it any. The other thing is, get a little board. There's an old ruler, so you're supporting your blade here. And as you can see, just a few seconds, still got some rust right down in there. It's already getting warm. So you can work on a blade or work on a particular area for a while, then move on to something else and then come back to it. Now when you've had heavy rust, on it, it's very hard to get it to have like a mirror finish. Still got some rust down in there. These patches here, I don't want to say the word because you get in trouble on YouTube for saying the word, but you can find these in your sporting goods store. They're just cleaning patches. And they come in different sizes. We'll just kind of compare this. That's what it looks like with the rubbing compound. That's what it looks like with the sandpaper. So now let's do the side that we do sandpaper on. See what happens there. Again, you can see how, because of that heavy rust, and then using the rust remover, I call it blemishes on the blade. It looks nice and shiny, but it doesn't have a consistent color throughout the blade. And that's because that rust is ate down into it. But we can continue to work on this. Another thing then, to continue on, since we have the sharp point on there, is we can hit the back springs real quick. We'll wipe these off again. And the same thing. Now on some of these older knives, like on this one here, you can feel the springs. You know, they didn't make them all smooth. They're kind of stepped a little bit. If you didn't have the rust remover to use, it is okay, I think, on the back springs, and I've done it before, especially on really tough spots. Be very careful, have it folded up tight there, and you can go back and forth with your, sandpaper. And you can clean it like this. But you have to be careful. If you have something, really nice covers, say they're bone covers or something like that, you got to be very careful doing these back springs. You can always tape it off if you want to try to help you focus on where you're using your sandpaper. But let's just put this rubbing compound on here. I just got to thinking as I was doing that. You can see how dark this metal is. And even on that blade and how uneven that seemed. I got to thinking, I normally don't leave these knives in the rust remover for 8 hours. So this is just another case in point of, put it in there for an hour, pull it out, do these steps on it. And you do these steps, and then if you still got some stubborn rust spots, put it back in maybe for another hour, come out, repeat the process. Kind of like putting paint on, you don't put one thick coat of paint on. It's better to put 2 or 3 light coats of paint. And it's the same thing with doing this refurbishing. Just do a little at a time and do the steps over and over. So, but you can see it started to get it clean. All right. So you get the basic idea of using the Dremel on all of that. Okay, let's take a look down in here. I need to get it wiped out. Let's get it wiped out. Folks, I really would like you to leave a comment. Hopefully my instructions here are clear. I can't cover every situation though. Every knife I do seems to have its own little challenges sometimes, especially these really old ones in the bad shape. All I can say is you'll get your style down the way I'm doing it. You might come up with a better way. If you got a better way, let me know in the comments. This is just, I'm not an expert. This is just something I've been doing, and maybe I'm a creature of habit. So you can see, got a bunch of stuff out of there. Look down in there. It looks like a lot of the rust is out of there, but got to get stuff scraped out of there. Well, there is still some rust right down in there. So, again, we'll just repeat a step here. We used sandpaper before. Let's just do it again. Just get down in there. Do some sanding. Sometimes you get stubborn spots and it's hard to get out. So you do do all this, throw it back in the rust remover for a while, bring it back out, do this again, and eventually you work it out. And this is one good thing about the ultrasonic cleaner is, you know, you get all the grain or whatever off of the sandpaper and the grit down in there, and gets it all dirty down in there, and that ultrasonic cleaner just helps to take all of that out. Now there, that's looking a lot better, except that we still got one little spot right down in here. Well, when I look at it, there it is. Right down in here. Right in there. Well, I have to just keep sanding on it, won't I? I don't even know how I got started restoring these knives. I really don't. I guess I bought one at an antique store here several years ago and thought, look nicer if I cleaned it up a little bit. And I just been doing this. And I really do like restoring these old knives. They're pieces of history, even if it's not a usable knife. I've got several of them that, well, like this one. I just did a video on this one the other day. It's a historic knife. It's a Streamline by Camillus from their sword brand collection, their line. This is probably made somewhere between mid-30s and mid-40s. You know, the bone cover's cracked on it, but it's still a fine specimen of a knife, and it cleaned up really nice. And this is what I'm talking about, leaving it kind of in museum condition. You know, when you go into museums, not everything is all bright and shiny. So I cleaned it up to get rid of the rust, just so there would be no more rust on it, but left some of the patina on it. And yeah, so that's a museum piece, if you will. Now again, these little areas right in here, if your brush will fit down in them, on some of them it will fit down in there, you can use your brush there. You can use a wire brush to get, like a brass brush, and get down in there, or we'll take a little sandpaper here and work on it. I don't know if you heard that, the grandson fussing in the background there just a little bit. Sorry folks, I don't have a soundproof studio. Maybe someday. So, just clean them off. And that's all this really is. Just a process. And you can see they're a lot cleaner now. See how clean those are? And down in there, pretty clean. One more time, we want, now that back spring again for this blade does not move up. So once again, we can check our back springs here. Clean on them again. Oh, here it is. This is what I was looking for. There's this patch here. See how you clean that stuff off? There you go. And then, if you need to, you can just keep opening and closing. Now, if your blades look okay, and you don't need to soak your knife anymore, but you still get stuff on your back spring, you know, you can always take this applicator again, put some down on there. Something like that, and just keep working it, and it'll help work that stuff off. You can actually use some of this mineral oil like that when you get a brand new knife. And yes, you can get your expensive knife oils and all that, but you know what? Mineral oil to me does just fine. I know on some of them fancy folders and flippers. You know, because they want to be able to, you know, one hand open and make it snap right out. But on these old pocket knives, they're not meant to open fast anyway. These are, this is an old gentleman's, old worker's knife. You take it out of your pocket, look at what you need to cut, open your knife up, take your time, peel an apple. There's nothing fast and furious. Yeah. So again, work it back and forth. You get more dirty oil out. Now these areas here, they look pretty clean right in there, actually. Very clean. But sometimes, you know, right down in here, you get stuff down in there. You might have to use sandpaper and clean them out a little bit. But they look really clean on this one. Okay, I've gone over most of the basic steps. Now I'm just going to take some time, use the rubbing compound, and clean these other blades off. Well, I really wasn't getting the results I wanted with this Turtle Wax rubbing compound, so I did break out this. It's called Performax Buffing Compound Assortment. I bought it at Walmart. No, not Walmart, at Menards. There's 4 different sticks. I've tried this black, this what's called the emery, and I worked on those back springs a little bit, and it's cleaned them up just a little bit better. So let's just see what we do here on our blade. As you can see, it's just really not, doesn't seem to be cleaning it up just right. So let's use this a little bit, see if we can get some better results. Okay, as you can see, this is a little bit more aggressive. And just cleaning it up a little bit better. Oh, that blade's hot. Just making it shine a little bit better, so I'm going to work on it some more with the emery. Using the black emery, and it says it's for coarse buffing to remove scratches, rust, corrosion, or to deburr stainless steel and other hard metals. So now we're going to switch. We're going to change our pad. We're going to use this white. And it's for use on all metals to remove scratches and obtain a highly reflective finish. Now it's important, especially as you get into the polishing stage and that, always keep a clean pad on if you can. In other words, I wouldn't want to use this black one and then put it on the white, although I did it once before. But you should always change your pad up. So we're going to try using this pad and see if we can't get these blades to look a little bit shinier. You can see why I go through so many of these pads. Clean that bolster off a little bit. That tang a little better. And you can see as the blade gets hot, this stuff almost kind of melts onto it. And these blades have been getting very hot. Bolster out there a little bit. Yeah, it's making it look a little bit more even, isn't it? Yep, it sure gets warm. Although not as bad as when I was using that conical one, because that's a lot more aggressive. This is a little bit softer of a pad here. We're getting there. Well, those bolsters really shined up nice, didn't they? Well, let's hit this back side a little bit. We can get the back springs shined up a little bit. Again, back here, we got to be careful not to hit covers. See that really dark stuff? That's because that paste kind of melts on there and gets hard. And it's hard to rub off. But the back springs are cleaning up really nice now, aren't they? Should probably always have your blades all closed when you're doing this. And maybe, just maybe, have a Band-Aid handy. See that putty on, almost like a little putty? That's the fiber from that and the extra compound on there. So I kind of didn't like using this stuff. But it does work. It's doing better than what just that plain rubbing compound did. But then again, I didn't say it already, I think we left this in the rust remover too long. Okay. That's where we stand so far. Well, we've gotten through the basic steps that I use to clean and help refurbish the knife and get rid of the rust. And as you can see, it's all pretty clean down in there. And once again, you can clean to your heart's content. This being an old knife that I probably won't be using, I'm not going to go to a whole lot more extent on it. But you can see our blades have cleaned up fairly nice. And so the next step is I need to get rid of all that extra cleaning compound and the grit from the sandpaper and maybe any other dirt that might be down in there. Bubble out some of that dirty oil that's in here. And to do that, I'm going to use an ultrasonic cleaner. And hold on just a minute, I need to adjust the camera. Bring it up so I can get that cleaner into view. And in the cleaner, I just have some warm water. And I use just a little bit of Dawn dishwashing liquid. I don't pre-measure, I just put a squirt in there. If you don't have access to an ultrasonic cleaner, that's fine. Again, you can just soak your knife in warm water and the Dawn dishwashing liquid. Let it soak for an hour or two, and then take your toothbrush and pipe cleaners, just anything you have available to scrub and try to clean it out. The advantage of the ultrasonic cleaner is it really gets down into places where you can't reach physically. So it gets down in between all those little tight spaces and cleans all that stuff out. Someone did give me a tip to go ahead and open the blades up if you can, if it will fit in your cleaner with the blades open. That helps the stuff to boil out just a little bit better. So I'm simply going to put the knife down in there. Now this cleaner I do have has the options. You can turn the temperature up and heat the water up even more. You can set different time limits. It comes preset at 5 minutes. That's what I've been using, and it seems to work just fine. And so yeah, we just got to turn it on here, hit the button, and we're going to let her go for 5 minutes. There is probably some commercial type cleaning stuff you could put in with the water or instead of water, but I haven't found the need for that yet. It seems like the warm water and the Dawn does just fine. So we'll let this cook, if you will, for 5 minutes, and then we'll take a look at it. Well, let's check our results. And looky there, see how dirty that water is? Pull this up and out. Get all that water out of there that we can. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but you can see the little bubbles of the dirty oil floating on top. You can see it's really cleaned it out. Hold on just a moment, let me get the cleaner back out of the way. Okay, we'll wipe the excess water off here. Let it dry. See how nice and clean everything looks here? Just cleans that knife right up. Makes it look nice. Nice and clean. Nice and clean down in there. Okay. Now normally, since it's been in water, my next step would be to throw it into some evapo-rust, or into some mineral oil, excuse me, because we've got all the rust gone. We don't want to leave it wet coming out of the water and let the rust start again, right? But since we're doing this, we can see some of the paint's missing here on that cover, and that cover is bare. So rather than put it in mineral oil, I'm going to let this dry good, and I'm going to show you how I paint these covers. And one other thing that I don't always show or don't always talk about is if you have an air compressor, it doesn't hurt. You can, when you take it out of the mineral oil or whatever you had it soaking in, take it out and blow out the pivots a little bit. I happen to have this little spray can, the dust remover for cleaning your computer. It's handy to have down here in the basement, and you always blow it out, blow out some of that, especially if you have dirty oil down in there. And this is part of just regular knife maintenance too. Again, just part of knife maintenance. If you need to clean your pivots out a little bit, use a little bit of this oil down in there, work the blades, then spray out the dirty or the excess oil. So But I'm just going to let this sit here and dry. And our next step is we're going to paint these covers. Well, I took the first step of getting these covers fixed up a little bit. I used some metal primer here. Of course, I'm sure everyone knows how to paint, so I cleaned it off. Used some rubbing alcohol to clean off the metal there, clean off those covers, let it dry good, put the primer on. Now we're ready for some black paint. And I just use good old Testors model paint, black paint here. And again, I'll use a Q-tip. And the Q-tips are good for dabbing down in and getting down in those little spots. I tape the bolsters off, although if you happen to get a little paint on those bolsters, it's not the end of the world. It'll come right back off. And I'm sure this will need a second coat. Just kind of get it dabbed down in there. I suppose you could tape it all off and spray paint it. It might be easier. But this does make the knife look like new. Then dab, 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 dab. I'll let it dry overnight, and then in the morning, probably put a second coat on it. And I bought some, well, it's fingernail hardener. I guess the ladies kind of use it on, you know, put the fingernail polish on and then put a clear coat of this hardener stuff over it. And that was suggested to me to use. And maybe it'll help keep the paint from rubbing off. And we got this one little spot here on the back side. Ooh, it almost looks like it matches up pretty good there, don't it? Oh, I got a little bit on the shield, but that'll be all right. I'll get that off. So then the way I got it taped up here, I can put this up here. Since we got paint on both sides, can't really lay it down, so now I can hang it up. Well, we're awful close to getting finished up with this knife, but look at the difference here. I repainted that a little bit. Now this model paint is a little bit more flat, not quite as shiny. But other than that, I think it matches up pretty good. And here's our back side here. Looks pretty good. Got a couple little things here we need to remove here and there, but all in all, it almost looks like it came from the factory, doesn't it? Well, let's just finish up here, and let's just use a little bit of case paste. Now, there's all kinds of polishers you can use out there. As a matter of fact, one of them is Flitz, I think. And I've never bought Flitz and never tried it, but a lot of people like Flitz. But I find this case paste product made by SMKW does a pretty good job. It's real inexpensive. It's $5 or $6 now. It used to be like $4. I don't know what it's selling for now, but it's pretty inexpensive. This little tube of it has lasted me a long time. So let's just kind of put some final touches on here. We've got a brand new rotary pad. And again, you can polish to your heart's content, but I go at a lower speed when I'm polishing. And you can see, shines it right up there. This has been a fun project, although it's been a long project, hasn't it? It sure has. Thanks for hanging with me through all of this. After this little bit of polish, we got one more thing we want to do with the paint, and that's a viewer suggestion. So just look how these bolsters polish up. And you can do this by hand. You don't need a Dremel. Most all of this I've showed you, you can do by hand. It just would take you a little longer. Again, I got just a little bit of paint there. I'll have to work on that a little bit, get that off. But you know, no big deal. No biggie, as they say. You can see how that can get all polished up nice. And as I said at the very beginning of the video, does it look better than when I started? And I think that's a definite yes. Again, I got one little spot of paint I'll have to get removed there, but let's just look at our knife. We did get walk and talk restored on the two smaller blades, but I do think that main blade, I think it's worn and probably won't get any walk and talk back out of it, but it's still a usable knife. There's still plenty of meat on the blades there. Good snap there. This one, no snap. Okay, to finish this up, I am going to use, I bought this called Hard as Nails, and a viewer had told me to use some of this nail hardener like the ladies use on their fingernails to put over this paint, and that'll help the paint from rubbing off. So I'm going to do this. I'll let it dry, and you know, maybe I'll carry it then for a while and just see if this hardener does help with that. Oh, it spreads on really nice. I will have to say, I did repaint. It was a boy's knife that I repainted. Very similar fashion as this. And some of the paint did rub off just a little bit. But you know what? It kind of gave it a nice little pocket-worn look. So, if a little bit rubs off, that's okay. That kind of goes back to the character of the knife. Okay. And then, after this dries, I'll flip it over and do the backside. So please let me know in the comments below. I hope that this video was helpful to you. And I just encourage everyone, go out and have some fun. Buy an old knife and restore it. And just have a blast with it. Bring it back to life. So until next time, have a very delightful day.